Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. If you're new to my channel, my name's Sophie and I would love it if you hit that big red subscribe button down below. Now today's video is going to be about all of the things that I love about German, because honestly I think the German language is underappreciated a lot. I've had many people ask me in the past, why are you learning German? German doesn't sound nice, it just sounds like people are angry all the time, and you don't need to learn German because you already speak English and everybody speaks English in Germany and Austria and places where people speak German. And honestly I can tell you, yes, the majority of people in Germany and Austria that I have met have all spoken very good English. However, it's not always the case, and we as native speakers of English need to get out of the habit of just expecting everybody else to learn English all of the time. And learning another language is fun and it can be useful, and the German language can be useful too, and it's not just an angry language that's got incredibly difficult grammar to learn. And I'm going to tell you some of the things I love about German and hopefully change your opinion of this language. So yeah, if you're interested in what I have to say about the German language, or you're just interested in learning German yourself, then this is definitely the video for you, so keep on watching. Number 1, die zusammengesetzten Nomen, or in English, compound nouns. At least I think that means compound nouns, and I hope it means compound nouns because I want to talk to you about compound nouns in German. I love that German has so many compound nouns. I know in English we do have quite a few compound nouns as well, and that German isn't the only language to have compound nouns, but in German there are an awful lot of compound nouns and I love them all because it's just so logical. I love how logical the German language is, and with all these compound nouns, and I think it makes it quite easy for somebody learning German to understand potential words that they've never seen before, because if you see a compound noun that you've never seen before but it's made up of two words which you already know, you can kind of guess what that word means. For example, Krankenhaus. House means house, krank means sick. If you knew that already and you saw that word, you could guess, oh, a house for the sick. What is a house for the sick? It's a hospital. Krankenwagen as well. Sick car. Ambulance, a few others, let me think, Glühbirne, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, I'm probably pronouncing it terribly wrong, but glue means like glowing, like Glühwein, and Birne, which I'm definitely pronouncing wrong, I'm pretty sure I am anyway, means pear. A glowing pear. Do you want to know what a glowing pear is? It's a light bulb, and that's just like one of the best German words ever. A glowing pear is a light bulb, which makes sense if you look at a light bulb. It's like a little pear-shaped thing and it glows and lights up the room. It makes perfect sense, and I don't know, I just like it. It's so logical, and I just like the sound of many of the compound nouns. And you know, German is beautiful because those logical German compound nouns, they're all beautiful. So yeah, remember that. And it definitely, like I said, I think my camera's going out of focus. The second thing I love about German is es ist schön, which means it is beautiful. And you may be thinking, Sophie, no, German is not beautiful. It just sounds like they're angry all of the time. I saw a video that someone shared on Facebook where they compared German words to French, Spanish, English words and Italian words, and it just sounded really angry. And I've seen that video that went viral on Facebook that people were sharing, and yes, those words did sound angry, but remember that that actor in that video was clearly trying to make them sound angrier than they already were. And yeah, sometimes German does sound angry, but that's good, because if you want to have an argument in German, then, you know, I would much rather have an argument in German than English, because I think it would sound so much cooler. But that's the thing, German sounds cool. I don't know, it's beautiful because it sounds cool. I like the way German sounds, and certain words sound nice, like shun. I like that word, shun. I don't know why, I like the sound of it. And the language is beautiful because it's logical and it all makes sense. Even like this difficult grammar that you talk about, German grammar being difficult. Yes, German grammar is difficult, but once you know the rules, it kind of makes sense. Like, it's logical. I like it. I like that it's logical and it is beautiful, and there are some nice words in German. And you have to remember, when Germans speak, they don't necessarily shout every word, so it doesn't actually sound that angry. Number 3, es ist nicht wirklich so schwer, which means it's not really that difficult. And you may be thinking, no, Sophie, what are you talking about? German is a super difficult language. Everybody says it's difficult. And that grammar, oh, that German grammar, I cannot get my head around that. For example, subordinate clauses. Why do they send the verbs to the end of the sentence? I don't get that. That's weird. We don't have that in English. Okay, yes, there are many things about German grammar which, you know, they're difficult to understand, and you have to really spend your time getting your head around these things. But the thing that makes German not really that difficult, that makes it fairly easy, is that you come across all of the more difficult aspects of grammar quite early on, really, in your process of learning the language. You come across all this stuff quite early on. For example, I remember being in a B1 class in Germany when I was an au pair, and we were learning the genitive, which I feel like is quite a hard thing to get your head around. For me, it was definitely quite a hard thing the first time I learned it, and that was only lower intermediate, and we were already learning about one of the things which I think is probably like the hardest part of German. And I think like level A2 you already learn like accusative and dative, so which I think kind of prepares you to learn about the genitive. So yeah, like quite early on you're learning like difficult aspects of German grammar, and that's good because you learn them early on in your language learning process, and then as you continue to learn the language, you're constantly using those things, which causes you to, you know, basically revise those things, go over those things, and the more you go over those things, the easier they become. So I think it's good that you actually come across all of the difficult elements of German grammar earlier on, because that makes it easier in the long run, because you're constantly repeating those things to the point where you're like, oh, level C1, and suddenly the genitive isn't so scary anymore, for example. So yeah, I think, you know, although German grammar is difficult, you know, it's not really that difficult if you get your head around it early, if you focus, if you just do like repetition of grammar exercises, as boring as it is. And I know like some people will tell you, you don't need to learn grammar to learn a language, that's not the best way to do it. But German has like so many grammar rules which are logical, so, you know, if you get your head around them, then you can speak German. It's good. And yeah, like I said, you learn those things early on, which makes it easier in the long run, and things generally seem to stick to those rules. So as long as you learn those rules and you remember those rules and you get into the habit of using them, then it becomes easier. Realistically, German grammar gets easier, and German's not that hard. It's hard, but it's not that hard. Number 4 is people always seem to be really impressed when you speak German, which is great, right? Because it's a big confidence boost. It makes you feel, I don't know, I like it. It makes me feel good about myself when people are kind of like impressed by the fact that I speak German. And I think there's not really that many English speakers that do speak German, and you know, compared to some other languages. For example, I feel like a lot of English speakers speak Spanish. There's a lot more English speakers who speak Spanish because of the fact that, you know, in America and the US they're so close to Mexico. So I think from what I've heard, like, I'm not too sure as I'm not American, but from what I've heard, a lot of people in the States do speak Spanish as well as English. Whereas, you know, German, from what I've heard, not so many people speak it, not so many native English speakers speak it, so, you know, it can make you stand out when looking for jobs, which is great, absolutely great, and also just people are generally impressed when you speak it. If I meet a German and I start speaking German to them, generally they are so impressed that I can speak German. Even though usually their English is way better than my German, they think my German is like great because they're not used to people speaking it, which is like a big confidence boost for me and kind of motivates me to keep learning, because I'm like, oh, at least I am making progress, at least I am picking the language up, because, you know, obviously these Germans think my German is great. Whereas personally, I don't think my German is as good as they say it is, but that is just because I am a language student, so I have grades that I need to meet. So they'll be like, oh, your German's so good, because maybe they haven't met an English person who speaks German like that before. But realistically, in the grand scheme of things, when I look at like grade boundaries, my German is just average, you know, for example. But yeah, it's a big confidence boost to have people, camera please focus. It's a big confidence boost to have people say that. So yeah, another great thing about German and why I love learning it. Number 5, the ability to learn German allows you to watch so many great German shows and films without subtitles, which is great. I think that's a reason to learn pretty much any language. If you enjoy watching films or TV shows in that language, then learn that language. I know that's why a lot of people learn Japanese, for example, because they like watching anime, and makes perfect sense because then they can watch that anime without subtitles and that makes them happy. But yeah, I feel like not a lot of people learn German necessarily to be able to understand German films and TV shows, because I feel like there's not, I don't feel like German films are necessarily known for being that good in TV shows. But Dark on Netflix, that show is amazing. I really want to meet the writers and just ask them so many questions about it, because honestly I don't know how they came up with that story. It must have taken them a lot of time, a lot of thought, a lot of effort, and it worked out well, because my favourite Netflix show, and I watch a lot of Netflix shows, isn't one in my mother tongue. It is Dark. It is a show in German. And I am so happy that the final season, I watched that without subtitles and I was able to figure out the family tree. I still have some questions. Like, I can't say what questions I have because it will spoil the show for anybody who hasn't watched it yet and may want to go watch it. But I understood how they resolved the story at the end of season 3. Maybe I had some questions about that story, like, how does that work? But I understood how they resolved it, and that made me feel happy. So yeah, learning German is good, and there are good films as well as Netflix shows. I have watched some good German films, such as Das Leben der Anderen, that's a good film. Der Ballon, that's a good film. Lola Rent, I remember learning that at school. Goodbye Lenin is a classic that they show you at school in the UK. If you're studying German in a school in the UK, I bet you've watched Goodbye Lenin, because I watched it at school. I watched it when I was at my college / sixth form thing. Yeah, it was like a sixth form college, confusing. I watched it there. It just seems to be a classic. Number 6. German is spoken in some beautiful countries, and if you are able to speak German, you can travel to all of these countries and speak to the local people in German, and it's great. You can learn more about their culture, and you know, you can practice your language skills whilst you're having a holiday or you're backpacking around Europe and you're just passing through Austria or somewhere and you just speak German for a bit with someone. It's great. I've been to Germany. There are some beautiful parts of Germany. I've been to Austria. Again, Austria. Many beautiful places in Austria. I've been to Liechtenstein. Everybody often forgets about Liechtenstein, that tiny little country in between Switzerland and Austria. They speak German there, and you can get very similar views to what you would get in Switzerland, but with less tourists. I loved going to Liechtenstein. I went with my friend Seren and we stayed in a hostel and we stayed in a 6-bed dorm, and we were the only person in that dorm. We basically had the room to ourselves, so, you know, we may as well have been staying in a hotel in a way. I know it's not the same as a hotel, but still it was kind of like it, as we had the room to ourselves for a cheap price, and the hostel had this beautiful view of the mountains, and we just got up for sunrise and had a look at the mountains, and there was no one there. And obviously Switzerland is a beautiful country. They don't speak German in all of it, and Swiss German is really hard to understand, but the Swiss Germans can speak Hochdeutsch as well, so you can speak Hochdeutsch to them and they'll be able to understand you if you wanted to. And then I guess I can include Luxembourg as well, because although they speak Luxembourgish in Luxembourg, lots of German is spoken there as well, and French. Luxembourg was a weird country for me because I was like, I'm learning French and German, what do I speak? Do I speak German to people? Do I speak French to people? Or do I speak English? I was very much, I went into one shop and had a conversation with somebody in German, went in there an hour later, had a conversation with a different woman working in there in French. Just the way it is in Luxembourg, and Luxembourg is beautiful. Again, tiny, often forgotten about, but it's beautiful. So yeah, German is spoken in some beautiful places, so yeah, you can learn German whilst travelling to many places. It's not just spoken in Germany, and you know, if you're travelling around Europe, if you want to go on a European trip, there's quite a few places where you can speak German and practice, and they're all beautiful. Oh, not to forget, they actually speak German in part of Belgium, but I haven't been to that part in Belgium, and I'm not too sure if like everybody there speaks it or if it's just some people, but I've heard that there is a part of Belgium where they speak German, but I think it's like very small. But yeah, Belgium's also a very beautiful country. So yeah, so I think I'm going to end this video here. I hope that if you had any negative thoughts, opinions about the German language before you watch this video, I have managed to change your mind. And if I have managed to change your mind, then I think this video deserves a thumbs up. So go give it a thumbs up. Even if you didn't have any negative thoughts about the German language beforehand and you still enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. Hit that big red subscribe button down below. Follow me on Instagram and all of that lovely stuff. And I'll see you all in the next video.